We just got the reveal for Lupa in Wuthering Waves patch 2.4. Now this character is someone we have literally never seen before, so she came as a great shock to many. So I wanted to think about, okay, who is this character and what does she do? So that's what this video is about. I'm going to be speculating on what I think Lupa's kit is going to look like. First of all, we are going to be talking about her attribute and weapon type yet again. This is always how I start these videos after all. And one thing I know for sure, looking at this splash art, there is literally no way this character is not fusion. Look at all the red there. Like, it's literally, there's literally flaming beasts being spawned from the staff or whatever she's holding. This character is going to be fusion, and I don't see a single universe where she is anything else. Unfortunately, because we've never seen Lupa in-game and we know nothing about her personality, or literally anything else about her for that matter, I can't really speculate on much else, other than the fact that I just think she's fusion based on how she looks, because we know nothing of her personality. We did get one quote of hers, however. "Just ignore the attention, warrior. This victory is ours to savor." This means that Lupa is a warrior. She is built for combat. That is her job. And not in a Carlotta type of way, where she just executes people. No, the energy I get from her is that she is a gladiatorial fighter. So Fusion's cast of insanely extroverted people kinda makes sense here. Then let's talk about the weapon type. We see that in her splash art she is holding a spear, but spear is not a weapon type in Wuthering Waves. So we have to somehow manage to bind this to one of the other weapon types. I think that it's obviously not going to be Rectifier or Gun. Why would they give her a ranged weapon and then literally have her be a melee character in game? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Which leaves us with Gauntlets, Broadblade, and Sword. I think that personally out of these, Gauntlets or Broadblades are the most likely. Sword is a smaller weapon, so I don't think that Sword is going to make much sense when we look at this big spear. However, Gauntlets is even smaller, so how does that work? Well, the same way that Zani is a Gauntlets character but actually uses a massive shield. She uses the gauntlets to strengthen her arms for stronger throws of the spear or something like that. Or there is Broadblade, which is just a large weapon. It's a long weapon. That's kind of like all the resemblance between a spear and a Broadblade. But still, it's there. I still think it's more likely than a sword. So, yeah. Basically, I think she's either Broadblade or Gauntlets, and then she's definitely going to be Fusion. But what is she going to be like in-game? What do I think her kit is going to be? Well, I have some thoughts. First of all, I believe she is going to do a large amount of damage. And why do I think she's going to deal significant damage? Well, she is in fact a warrior, and warriors, well, let's just say, compared to priests and executioners, they are known for brute forcing. I can see Lupa playing similarly to Zani, where she just completely wrecks house and does not care about what the enemy is doing. Just straight up annihilates them at every single turn. It would be a little lazy to have two DPS characters in a row who just have a sort of berserker playstyle where they kind of don't care about what the enemy is doing. But, you know, we also have Cardathea, who's most likely a DPS, so she can be different. But again, I don't really have much basis because I don't have a lot to work off of. Lupa's not in the game, I'm kind of just guessing at this point. Then there's also what type of damage she is going to deal. And I think there is a couple of theories for this. Let's just quickly eliminate basic attack and skill damage. We already have limited characters who do primarily that on the fusion side, being Chong-Li and Brand, which leaves us with heavy attacks, liberation, and then the introduction of fusion burst. I think that heavy attack is not super likely, to be honest. We just got a heavy attack DPS in the form of Zani, and while she does count more as a frazzle DPS, I still don't think it's going to happen. And while liberation is a bit more likely, I'm not entirely sure on that either. While we would have another use case for Yinlin, because Chong-Li takes way too long to get her outro, I feel that with the sheer amount of damage over time shield we've gotten lately, she's just going to be a fusion burst character. Now it could be like Zani, where she's both liberation and fusion burst, but we still don't have anyone to apply fusion burst. So either Lupa is going to be the fusion burst support character for the future, or she's going to be a generic damage bonus character. And honestly, I'm not that sure which one it's going to be. There is also another route they could go with Lupa. aka making a sort of triple DPS comp. We're already running Changli and Brand together, with Shorekeeper in the final slot. However, we still don't have Changli's Ultra skill being fully utilized, and we know that Kuro is trying to push Brand as a healer, because when Changli was getting her rerun, the recommended team was Changli, Brand, and Sanhua. So maybe Lupa is supposed to fill that spot that Sanhua was filling before, where she is a fusion and basic attack buffer for Brand to benefit off of. Brand will buff Changli with resonance skill and fusion damage amplification, and then Changli can buff Lupa with fusion and liberation amplification. This would be an entirely new direction for Kuro games to go into when it comes to the fusion element, and maybe they'll try to make this sort of triple DPS comp more interesting in the future and also usable on other elements. We saw during the Cantarella trial that they really want you to use Rochia and Cantarella, where Cantarella is capable of buffing Rochia, and then Rochia is here to buff Camellia. And while this is not better than running Shorekeeper, it does seem like Kuro Games is really trying to break that traditional team structure that we ended up forming, and failing horrendously, let's be completely honest here. So even if Lupa ends up being the fusion basic buffer, I don't think it's going to be best to actually run triple DPS. We're most likely just going to see Lupa end up becoming a buffer for Brand, or Lupa being a main DPS with Changli as her primary buffer, with the former being better than the latter. So it seems that they could go into really interesting directions with this character, with me either wanting to see her be in the introduction of Fusion Burst, or this sort of triple DPS creator. She could also end up being something more generalist rather than trying to force herself into a specific niche. One thing that is possible is that we see Lupa being a healer, which, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't think it's gonna happen, but it is a thing that could happen. You know, you never know for sure. Phoebe didn't exactly strike a lot of people as a main DPS, but then she ended up being one, so you never know how Kuro might end up surprising us. After all, they say that Lupa has a pure heart. That could mean she's a support of some kind. I don't know, I feel like that's a bit copium to say, but you never know. She could also end up being a more generalist sub-DPS character. She doesn't necessarily have to be a fusion and basic buffer for Brand. She could also end up just buffing something more generalist. We've never seen a 5-star character giving purely heavy attack damage amplification or purely skill damage amplification, but it is definitely a route that they can go with Lupa. And again, while I don't see it happening, it very much could happen. And if it does happen, it opens up a door of possibilities for a lot more diverse team building. Let's say Lupa has coordinate attacks and gives a generalist skill damage buff a 38%. That would instantly be a big buff for Jinshi, and because it's a 5-star teammate, we could even increase the Ultra Skills buff to something like 40% or 42%. You're never sure of what Kuro might pull with these characters. After all, no one expected Spectra Frazzle and Error Erosion to become things we can use in combat, so you just never know for sure. But what do you think of Lupa? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, the best place to reach me would be through my Discord server, which is linked in the description. I'm pretty active in there, so if you have any questions, asking there will give you the biggest chance to get me to reply. But that'll be it from me. Peace.